Hello everybody, hi friends, hi, how are you doing? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. You probably clicked because you saw the title of this video. This is going to be a crazy nostalgic trip. This point in time was very interesting. We'll just say that. You'll understand what I mean by interesting later on. I didn't really have much experience when it came to guys. I was very late to the game. We'll just say that. Compared to some of the girls I went to high school with, some of the stories I heard were crazy. Like, what you mean you were doing all that at 13 years old? That's a story for another day. Before I get to like the actual first date, I'll just give like a little bit of context on like, I guess, how we met and stuff. For some context, I was 16. This guy, he was 18, but he just turned 18 like a few months. I met him through a mutual friend, even though it wasn't like mutual friend, because this mutual friend is his stepbrother, and I'm friends with his stepbrother because we go to the same church and we're like in the worship group together. So basically, his stepbrother brought him to our church. I think it was like a Friday night or something, and we were all going to like a little carnival or like a fair at one of the towns nearby. I'm gonna give him the name Anthony because I want to respect his privacy, even though he's probably never ever going to watch this video. You know, at first, you know, he was noticeably attractive at the time. Whenever I found a guy that was like somewhat attractive, I became 10 times more energetic and 10 times more talkative than what I usually am around strangers. And so we went to the fair. You know, he seemed really cool. And when I first talked to him, he was probably like the funniest guy I had ever met. I personally think I'm really funny. That might have been really biased of me to say, but I feel like a lot of people in my life think I'm funny. So, you know, naturally, when I meet another funny person, I want to talk to them more. And so that's what I did. That was like one of the things that I liked about him most. But again, I didn't really want to have a relationship with him, or even like, I wasn't even like thinking like that. And literally when the night ended and we all said bye, I didn't think I was ever going to see him again. And so that night when I got home, I see a little notification on my phone. That rhymed. Would you happen to guess what that notification was? It was an Instagram notification saying Anthony requested to follow you, or Anthony followed you, or whatever. And so I was like, oh, okay, all right. I followed him back because that would have been a little disrespectful of me not to. Somehow he got like my Snapchat or something. Then somehow that went to him getting my number. So we ended up just talking and like texting a lot and FaceTiming a lot. So my interest in him definitely went up, and actually he was the one who told me that he liked me. I didn't really know if I liked him, but I was like, you know what? Let's pursue this and let's see what happens. We make a plan to hang out. This would be my very first date. So he decides to plan the whole day out. I have no idea what we're doing, and I was like, okay, fun, cool. I was like super nervous because obviously this was my very first date. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to do. I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, like what if he's like my very first kiss? Like, how do you kiss? Like, I've never kissed anyone. I've never even like held hands with anyone like romantically. I was like doing my research. I was like searching up how to kiss videos on YouTube. Don't judge. We've all been there before. Do not judge. And so the day arrives where Gabby Christina will be having her very first date with a boy. And I was nervous. And mind you, this was probably, I think this was like the very first guy I told like my parents about. He was a serious one. So he comes to my house to pick me up. To my mom, I'm like, okay, bye mom, see you later, peace, I'll text you, bye. And so she's like, hold up girl, I'm going with you. Imagine she was like, let's go, let me just grab my purse, let's go eat out and like hang out with him. No, that's not what she did. She was like, hold up, like before you go, I'm going with you to like meet him or whatever. So I was like, ay, Mom, please, no, let me just go. And she was like, and I was like, Mom, you know, like every high school movie. And so she comes with me outside. He gets out of the car and, you know, very respectful guy. He shakes her hand and he introduces himself in like Spanish. I'm just like, and so this Anthony, he took me several places this day. So the very first place we went to this like Mexican restaurant in like a little shopping mall near me. I've never been to it, but when we got there, it literally looked closed because no one was there. So I'm like, oh, awkward. Mind you, at this time, I was like such a picky eater. I didn't know what to eat and like I wanted to be a super skinny queen. So what I chose to eat was like 5 quesadillas and that's all I ate. This restaurant was like super cold, so I was like shaking. 1, because I was nervous, and 2, because it was super cold. So I was like eating my quesadillas, like just shaking, like, what's your favorite color? I don't even remember what we talked about, but it can't be that interesting since I don't really remember it. Since this like little restaurant was inside a mall, basically, after we ate, he paid for both of our things, which is very nice, very respectful, very polite. We go into the little mall and we just like walk around, and then I see a Barnes and Noble. I'm like, oh, shut up, we have to go in. I forget this man is with me. I just start going across, around, in circles, rectangles, trapezoids around the Barnes and Nobles, hunting down a book. I find the book that I was trying to find, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need this book. I'm gonna go get this book if like that's all right. And so he's like, oh, like this book looks interesting. How about I buy it for you? And I'm like, I was like, you know what? If you insist. So he bought me the book. I still have the book. I never finished reading it. So like every time I see it, I get reminded of that day and I'm like, oh, cringe a little. After we got the book, we go back into the car. He's like, before we do whatever we're gonna do next, I just gotta make a quick stop. This is where it gets like really funny. And so I'm like, oh yeah, sure, why not? And so he starts driving and then we end up at the car wash. Yeah, so he took me to a car wash to wash his car in the middle of our date. I was literally laughing in the inside. I didn't want to laugh out loud because I would have been awkward. And this man had the audacity to be like, oh, we have to get out of the car. I was like, okay, sure. He refers to his car as his baby or baby girl. I forgot what he said, but he's like, oh, I gotta take care of my baby girl, you know what it is? And I was like, it was like that meme, like with that guy. He's like, okay. Okay. I'm telling you, you can't write this stuff up. The car wash ends, and I'm like, ooh, squeaky clean. And this is where it gets even more interesting. Then he takes me to like his town, like where he lives. And he takes me to like his secret spot. He told me that he's only taken another girl to this spot besides me. And so I'm like, okay. Okay. What did you expect me to say? Like, oh my gosh, like what an honor. What? You don't just say that. But anyways, I didn't care. Got to this little spot. And this spot was like at a park. But there was like a little secret like hideout space. And to get to this little space, we had to like do some type of like climbing on rocks. And so I was like not prepared for this little side adventure. And so basically we end up in this like little rock like wall thingy, and in the middle there's like a little like stream of river. So if you fell, you literally would have like cracked your head open and died. Each time I think of this story, I'm like, I could have very well died here. And so we sit there, and when I tell you, we literally talked here for like 3 hours. But like halfway through, I just like really wanted to leave, but I didn't know how to like say that without being mean. So I ended up just like sitting there like talking to him. I felt so bad because he genuinely like liked talking to me, or at least I think he did. But literally the second we sit down, he pulls out his vape and he just starts vaping. He takes like a puff or whatever, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, like, is this okay? And I'm like, you did it already, so sure, why not? I generally don't really remember what we talked about. I just remember he like really complimented me a lot. The time came to leave because, you know, the sun started setting, and we get out of like the little place or whatever. As we start walking to his car, grabs my hand and like holds my hand. And so I'm like freaking out, like in the inside. I'm like, oh, we're doing this now. All right. But it was kind of weird because we held hands for like 5 seconds because we were literally at his car already. Yeah, after that, I don't remember if we did anything else. I'm pretty sure he just like took me back home after that. And this part is probably like the most awkward part of this like entire day. So we get to my house, and obviously it's like that awkward like goodbye. Typical thing is to like have your first kiss there. Obviously, internally I was freaking out because I was like, oh my gosh, here we go, like I'm gonna have my first kiss or whatever. No, we did not kiss. In fact, he said, and these are his exact words, come here, give me a hug. I'm cringing just like thinking about it. Give each other like a side hug, and it was like so awkward, guys. I was like, I need to leave. I need to get out of here. Like, absolutely no way. I'm like, okay, bye. Like, text me when you get home, whatever. But like, as I'm walking to my house to open the door, I'm like physically cringing. I'm like, oh my gosh, no way that just happened. That was not how I envisioned that day ending. And obviously this whole thing did not make it past the talking stage. That's a whole another story right there. Do some finishing touches with my makeup. But all in all, obviously I don't talk to this kid anymore, but it doesn't mean I don't wish him the best. He was genuinely such a super nice person, super funny guy. In a perfect world, I would have wished we stayed as friends, but obviously that didn't happen for many reasons. I'm now in a super healthy and beautiful relationship now. So maybe one of these days I'll make a story time on how I met my boyfriend and how we started talking and dating, obviously, because it's honestly like such a sweet like little love story. And that's that for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time. Let me know if you guys want more story times, because I definitely have quite a few. And yeah, I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye!